BTS is going on break because they all got to go to war. Yo, what is the wild policy? I am one of the most famous musicians ever. I'm part of one of the most famous boy band groups ever, but we got to break up because we all got to join the
Oh, right.
military.
Yeah, the military draft
Yo, that shit
policies.
is wild.
Yeah, that's
Talking
crazy.
about we're about to go do separate projects. Nah, fool, y'all all about to be in different divisions. What you got, artillery?
Separate projects of the military, maybe.
Yo, this whole world is going to hell in a
That's wild.
handbasket.
All
Anywho's
right.
it.
You ready to start?
Yep, do the
All right.
thing.
I was online and,
No, on Beyonce's internet.
right, I was on Beyonce's internet with permission. And you got to fill out paperwork. And
I signed a DNR.
there's a membership. And,
Different than title.
right. And I started typing in, a thing, and Google would just assume, or
Google
the search
is
engine in
nosy.
general.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll just assume like, is this what you meant? Is this what you meant? Perhaps this is what you meant. It's like, all right, relax. But the thing is that what it assumed I meant actually got me more curious than what I was actually typing. So
It's the wired autocomplete
Yeah,
survey. You were like,
so-
what was I thinking, Google?
so I typed worst day. And then what I ended up clicking on, I'll tell you what it was going to be. But I'll tell you what I ended up clicking on was worst day in U.S. history. Because I was like, all right, Google, sure. And I clicked it. And there was like, a bunch of different websites, including like, Time Magazine and such. And and then I started looking like worst event or worst moments, anything like that, and started
You just
going through
wanted to
them.
go down the
And was
despair
like,
black
look,
hole.
well, the thing is that I was looking at these lists, and yeah, there was, things like Pearl Harbor, things like that hurricane in like the 1900s, like I think at Galveston, where like hundreds of people died, and there was even like Time Magazine had like the day that Emmett Till died, like all those things, but not one list across maybe 15 websites that I looked at just mentioned the general idea. Like there was MLK, Lincoln getting shot, Kennedy, all that shit, but not one mentioned, just the concept of slavery. Not one. Not one said, like, and I was like, somebody at number one, right? Somebody. Okay, and then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'll take number 8. I'll take last. Anybody.
15.
And like nobody was like, slavery was bad.
We should probably talk about this.
Nobody. Nothing, like not slaves, not certain slaves, not like an event during slavery. Like it was all like, oh, this bad hurricane or this assassination, this, the Black Panther breakfast that got attacked, like those kinds of things, but nobody was like, slavery was shitty. That should be on the list.
There's been a really interesting, like watching America come to terms with the fact that slavery actually happened is fascinating to me as somebody who reads so much source material that tells you that slavery happened.
Yeah.
That now what's been curious is like seeing stuff on TikTok where somebody will say, we have all this evidence of like colonialism all over the world, but we don't have slave ships. And the next sentence usually that comes is like, and that makes me feel like the transatlantic slave trade didn't exist. And it's like, how? How did we get here? You do understand that one, the Clotilda was found off of the coast of Alabama, which is one of the most intact slave ships that we've ever had. 2, fools used to burn their slave. There's like documentation where they'd be like, cool, we got the human cargo off, light the shit up. Like James Montgomery style, light the shit up. And it's like, let's use the church, for example. So you mean to tell me because you can't see the Holy Spirit don't exist? Where's your faith? Like, what? Are you serious? I can't. And also it's really not surprising because we can't even talk about slavery as slavery. We got to change it to involuntary relocation.
If you're Texas, just remove it from the book altogether.
How are you guys supposed to explain what Juneteenth is, Texas? If you can't tell the first part of the story, how do we get to the punchline of the joke without telling the joke?
Right.
Just haha, the chicken crossed the road. What? What was the chicken doing on the road?
How did that even?
I
where
thought
did
we're
the chicken
supposed
come
to
from?
eat chickens. Wait, I'm confused. What is a chicken doing by a city? Like you miss all of the context because you're just like, and then there were blacks
Right.
in this country. How did the blacks get here? Well, we needed people to work. And so they kind of just moseyed on over, Some of them came in boats. And then 300 years later, here we are. He had a black president.
I heard that
How that happened.
Heard that a few of them just actually found a really good package on Groupon and showed up here.
It was a Carnival cruise. It just all came over. Y'all are so ridiculous. But anyway, in this fun episode of Battle Fatigue, I am AJ.
And I am Dalin.
At least for now, until we decide what part of the Marvel universe we done popped out of.
Yeah.
I want to do over, okay? If this is what happened because Sylvia killed He Who Remains, I want to do over. Let's just,
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. So, welcome to another episode of
what in
Battle
the hell
Fatigue.
Is happening?
It's Battle Fatigue.
That too.
It's Battle Fatigue. It's fine. AKA, what the hell is going on?
In black.
Be sure to check us out on your Twitter sphere, on your IG sphere, all the things. We are at Battle Fatigue PC. That is Papa Charlie. You know what it is. Phonetic alphabet. What are we? Yeah, PC, Papa Charlie. Battle Fatigue, Papa Charlie. We're not at Battle Fatigue,
using like
Papa
the Whiskey
Charlie.
Foxtrot Tango situation.
Yeah, the phonetic alphabet. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I learn something new every time on this show.
Anyway, we are at Battle Fatigue PC. Hit us up, follow us, join the community. We getting active out there just as much as we getting active in here.
Are we?
Let's get into this episode.
God, look, this is just going to be an episode where we just check in with each other on how are you surviving the demise of the world?
The demise of the world. That's wild.
Yeah, which starts at the very center with our country burning.
It's like we have a the world has like the timer from 24 going. Wake up in the morning. It's like dooch. Yeah, it's good times.
I'm trying to press the B button in Animal Crossing to make this shit go faster. Let's just get to the end. Which also, BT Dub, if you do play Animal Crossing, one, that game is not as relaxing as it's supposed to be. I have learned that the hard way. Okay. Two, Sultan is very good at Animal Crossing, and he's got a whole island situation in which the river looks like a music note. I didn't even realize you could do that.
That's because you need 100 trees.
I just planted 100 trees. Actually, I think I have 102.
Good job.
It took a while. Now I gotta
your
get
flowers.
On the plants, and I gotta get on the flowers and stuff. But this is what we're doing to cope with the demise of the world, is we're creating our own little worlds that are just and inclusive, because this world is not.
Well, I mean, that brings up that's a good point. Like how it's been like the last 2 to 5 weeks have been an utter shit show, and it's important to do the check-ins to see how we're being affected, how it's going, like what are some of our personal experiences, just because we see the world differently, some the same but a lot differently. So overall, given the last month or so, how you doing, man? How's it going?
This shit's for the birds.
It is.
And like navigating it as a Black woman is annoying. Because, I mean, granted, all the feelings that you would expect, like the anger, the irritation, upset, sad, whatever, but also like I have this deep annoyance because I know that things wouldn't be this way if we had actually listened to Black women.
Yeah.
And that's the part that is like, and not even from the 90s or the 80s or the 70s or the 60s. Like, if we had started listening to Black women, I don't know, in the 1800s, in the 1700s, when Mum Bet was out here fighting for her freedom in Massachusetts before the Declaration of Independence was even a thing. Like, that's the thing that pisses me off. And then in the moments where Black women have advocated for ourselves and others, our words are misconstrued. That makes me think of how somebody literally rewrote Sojourner Truth's like whole "Ain't I a Woman" speech to be more beneficial to white women. And so the like time that we're in right now is really frustrating and annoying as a Black woman, because it's like, it really didn't have to be like this. Both in my like professional life and also in my personal, like me as a citizen of this country aspect of my life, it's like y'all, if we actually listen to dark skinned queer organizers with different abilities, I think the world would be better off because those are the people that we treat the shittiest, right? Like I have to be very mindful of the privileges that I have as a Black woman, as a brown-skinned Black woman, who's Kenyan. Like there's like all these different layers that I have to be aware of, and the lack of awareness on other people's parts and the awareness that comes with the fact that this thing is now affecting you is like you actually weren't down for the cause. And the cause meaning like everybody that can benefit from this service or this action. It's like you only cared when it started affecting you or you started to feel the effects of this thing that like millions of other people had felt. So right now I'm in a high state of annoyance and like I don't have the regular patience that I would have for white folks who are engaging with a piece of history that maybe they didn't have before because the signs have been like it's been out there and I don't know what that says about me. So I'm trying to give myself space to like feel the feelings because right now the question is we've heard people ask themselves this question of like, what would you do if you were alive during the civil rights movement? Like, homie, right now is the time. Like, this is your civil rights movement because you've got a bunch of non-elected people who are making decisions that are going to affect the rest of the country. And them fools was not elected. So you got to figure out like, how am I going to take care of my community? But right now I'm just angry. I'm annoyed and confused and trying to figure out like, what is my next move? And how am I going to create a path that is sustainable?
So, I mean, all in all, everything seems fine. So,
so it's a Monday. It's a Monday. For me, this is just a regular Monday.
That's what we had. Of course, yeah, the Roe v. Wade overturning, which was one of the most garbage things that could go on. That could happen. We also had we recently had White Independence Day. We had that go on, which there was what was it? Because there were what 9 or 11 like mass shootings on July
Independence
4th,
Day.
On Independence Day. And the one of them, of course, the main one being in Highland Park, and there was somebody had put, well, a few people had posted there was also something that happened in Philly, I think, where a couple of cops had gotten shot.
Yep.
And the video was like all of these people running through the streets, just running for their lives in the streets, because it's like, oh, we shooting. So but then while they're running, in the background to their running, fireworks. And I was like,
the irony.
And somebody somebody put, but they were like, this is the most American thing I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, people running for their lives while on the night that they're celebrating their independence. And
if I'm not mistaken, there was a politician, and we'll make sure we get the name. But also at this point, you could really just pick a conservative state, and I'm pretty sure this politician would fit right in line.
Sure.
But right after the shooting, the Highland Park shooting, there was a politician who literally posted a family photo and was like, okay, let's not focus too much on that. Like, let's get back to the celebrating. Literally within like hours of the shooting happening, posted a Facebook post talking about, okay, y'all, like, let's not focus too much on the shooting. It's still the holiday.
So let's pray for justice to prevail. And then let's move on and let's celebrate the independence of this nation.
Because there was like a celebration that was then canceled, like a parade or whatever. And he's like, oh, I'm so upset that, we're canceling parades. And it's like, word? Literally, people are dying on the day of the most white freedom day y'all could possibly have.
You mentioned like canceling parades. There was another congressperson who was like, I can't believe this is happening on this day and blah, blah, blah. And I guess I have to keep my family safe. So
gun.
No more parades for us. I guess I have to keep my family from going to parades. And I was like, you've got to be shitting me. Like,
Rather than just get rid of the gun, or not even get rid of the gun. And that's the part that's like fascinating to me, is like the conversation is not get rid of guns. It's like, let's figure out a way to regulate them so that people can be safer while you function with this firearm that literally can like rip you apart.
Nah, regulate them parades. Right? All those people in the streets, you never know. That's a trumpet? You think that's a trumpet?
Stand the goddamn floats. Okay?
I seen James Bond. They turn a pen into a gun.
And it's floating.
It's ridiculous.
And it's held on by a string.
It's ridiculous. That's
and
not a
you
flute.
Mean to tell me
that's a dart thrower
science
thing.
Is supposed to explain how this little
I hate it here.
string holds on to this goddamn
There's a bomb
balloon,
inside those drums.
And a person
I know it.
is
I've seen
controlling it. A person, a singular person. And
Pom-poms?
I'm supposed to use
more like bomb-poms.
Physics
Get out of
to
here.
explain it.
Yeah.
Okay, E equals MC squared.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's when the news starts to, you know, hit over and over and over, and sometimes I just I'm like, yo, who accidentally sat on all the buttons, or like who left the office and took the child to work, and then the child just went in there and started controlling all the things, and now we got all this shit happening. I just it gets so overwhelming. I mean, because these kinds of things happen all the time. But I mean, maybe it's, you know, these states of vulnerability. It could be the fact that so much of it all happens at once. And so you're just left having to process this. And so all of my processing seems to be overlapping into the next thing, which of course happens a lot here. But more recently with, you know, the, you know, Independence Day and the shootings, one, of course, it also being this country's Independence Day and what it means to this country, and also what it means to Black people, because it is very much separate things. Actually, I mean, it means nothing to Black people, honestly.
I mean, if you wanna do the whole I'm not down for it, and again, back to the annoyance of Black women, the white celebrity women that came out and was like, we're canceling Independence Day because Roe got overturned. And it's like, now? Because it's you who's affected, we're canceling Independence Day, but like, whatever. I mean, if you would like to understand from a historical perspective how Black people feel about Independence Day, I encourage you to read Frederick Douglass's speech, What is the Fourth to a Slave, I believe is the name of the speech. Y'all know how I feel about Frederick Douglass. I'm still upset about what he did to his first wife, but that man is an excellent orator. So I highly recommend you looking up that speech. It was going around by a bunch of Black historian social media creatives. PBS, I think last year, did a special where the descendants of Frederick Douglass like read the speech. Highly recommend y'all looking that up. Also, the GOP candidate that we were talking about is from the state of Illinois, and his name is Darren Bailey. If you are voting in the state of Illinois and you happen to be a Battle Fatigue listener, make your choices accordingly. That's your business. But Independence Day does nothing for me. Independence Day, from what I understand it from the Black perspective, Independence Day is a day to cook food and to barbecue because you have that day off. That's really where it goes down. And if you as a white person, if you as a person who happens to be white don't understand why Black people feel some kind of around Independence Day, then you got some more reading to do, homie. It's really, like I just don't got the patience in me between what y'all did to that young Black boy, Jalen Walker. Like, I got nothing for people who can make comments justifying that behavior and in turn be comfortable with a GOP candidate saying that we should cancel or move on and celebrate the 4th of July after a shooting that also threatened the lives of like your constituents. Like, this country doesn't make any sense. And the unfortunate piece of it is I think white folks are starting to understand a taste. And by taste, I mean a very small, maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon taste of the general nature that Black people deal with in this country, right? The general unsafety, the general uncertainty, the general mistrust in the government to have your back. Like, white women are just now starting to understand that, like, I don't know if this country is as down for me in the way that they're down for white males as I thought they were. And that's got to be, I don't know what that feels
I
like.
think that that was I'm remembering now the photo that came, the family photo that came up hours later. That was the Illinois governor, Darren Bailey. He did that. So which kind of in a sense makes sense because of course it happened in Highland Park, and people, the idea that like, oh, Highland Park was where like this family film was filmed, and this is the house, they have the house. There were a bunch of houses in Highland Park that where movies were filmed, and they were family films, and they're like, well, just so you know, it can happen anywhere. And what killed me is that there were some news articles that were saying instead of Highland Park, they were saying outside of Chicago, and it was like, bruh,
proximity.
Can we please leave Chicago's name out of your
Chicago's like, we got our own issues to deal with. Leave us alone.
But you mentioned Jalen Walker and what happened with him, and the interesting thing about the way that guns work and murders and mass shootings and such is the fact that we'll have this thing happen to a black person, usually a black man, and then there'll be something that happens with a white person, usually a white man, and then of course you'll get those comparison photos with like stats and such, and just the idea that you have this kid who, excuse me, I'm not gonna say kid, this young man who gets gunned down by the police, allegedly shot at 90 times, allegedly hit 60 times. Motherfuckers was reloading. 8 or 9 different officers. And it's like, and then you have the Highland Park shooter, and there's a video of him being arrested after, because he's trying to evade, he's trying to run, he's being arrested, and like one of the arresting officers is, through the bullhorn, through the megaphone, like on 2 different occasions while getting him to, going through the procedure of having him arrested, 2 different occasions says, okay, do me a favor. And I was like, this motherfucker just say, would you kindly, if you don't mind, could you please? Like that's, and it happened for this dude, and he's got whatever he's got in the car, and dude just massacred folks. And I'm not saying
children at that.
I'm not saying, right. And I'm not saying that like they needed to come in guns blazing, like down the floor, we should kill you right now. Like I'm not saying that should have happened, but what I'm going to tell you is that, of course, as always, there's a difference, and it's this young man at a traffic stop. This other young man who killed a bunch of people, injured a bunch of people. Do me a favor. Do me a fucking
video
favor.
Evidence. Like
video evidence is motherfucking do me a favor. So they got video evidence of them shooting this dude down, and video evidence of them like politely minding their P's and Q's for somebody who just recently shot up in a parade. Cool. So we still can't treat black people like people. We still can't see them like people. Like and part of it is because it still goes all the way back to the training, goes all the way back to what police are and always have been. There was a precinct in Michigan. Some Boy Scouts went to go visit that precinct, and they were taken on a field trip to it was the Farmington Hills Police Department. And this was back in April.
Yo, one thing you never want to do is let kids loose somewhere, because they will find the thing that you don't want to be found.
And so they went in there, and the kids, because kids have their phones, and they took photos of the shooting range, and the shooting range had shooting targets of black men in hoodies and caps and such, and in the shooting range. And first off, we still doing that. We still doing that. Like, you can't just, like, what happened to, like, if we're doing that, what happened to little silhouettes? What happened to just like bullseye targets?
Also, because y'all's aim is terrible anyway. So them joints ain't working anyway. You're not necessarily shooting to wound, you're shooting to kill every time. So what's the point of you guys even doing target practice?
Yeah, the idea that it's like, oh yeah, shooting them in the leg or in the knee or whatever. It's like, I don't see any shooting practices of knees.
Nobody ever is shooting at knees. It is either head shots or chest shots, back shots.
They had these targets in there, and these cops are like, they're trained to, it's very much shoot to kill. It is shoot you. They'll tell you it's not. You know, it's well, our
Until they even tell us.
training is, but no, they'll shoot you in the chest. Like it's like no, we need to like maybe it's like no, like we don't need the Fitbit steps. Shoot them right in the chest. But yeah, all kinds of racial bias. So then like they come out, they're like, yeah, we're sorry about that. It's just you know, we're not, you know, it's just pictures. It's just pictures.
One thing I will say I appreciate about them is they came out, they're like, yeah, it was us. They weren't even going to try and like,
they couldn't.
There's no way.
Couldn't.
But we know that there's been, obviously after Uvalde, like there was no way that y'all should have lied because of how blatantly like foolish it was, but y'all lied anyway. So on this hand, I'm glad that they didn't, and that's how low the bar is. Like y'all told the truth. Y'all admitted that, we probably shouldn't be using those targets. That's our bad.
I saw responses of Black mothers saying like, oh, so now I have to tell my child not to wear caps when they go out, you know, and
which is similar to what we heard parents saying after Trayvon Martin is like, oh, I got to tell my kid not to wear a hoodie. And don't have your hood up.
It's easy to not take something like that seriously when it is not your experience, but it's easy to take it not seriously because it's like, I mean, it can't specifically be that somebody's being profiled just because of a hoodie, just because of a cap, just because of black and all those kinds of things. Like, no, they had to have been doing something, right? Like people want to believe so wholeheartedly that there's a bigger picture there. And the bigger picture is the fact that it is happening because of the fact that they're wearing a cap, because of the hoodie, because of the black, the profile. I think that profiling is like the concept of profiling is kind of cool. Like when they talk about, you know, okay, we're looking for somebody who's between the ages of 25 to 36. He probably is malnourished. He probably is this and that. And then like when they catch the person and then it ends up being that, and it's like, yo, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And there are things that come into practice with that and it, you know, like backgrounds and race and such.
Stereotyping.
But in stereotypes do play a part, but because some of them, for that instance, it's like, he liked fish. Like that's just the thing. Like so we looked by creeks where him and his father used to, you know, so.
What is this, Golem?
No, it's Criminal Minds. So like, but it's
I do
also.
not watch Criminal Minds because Criminal Minds half the time ended up in Seattle and I couldn't do it. Like there's always some shit happening in Volunteer Park and I didn't understand what the hell.
It was like
why everybody was
22 seasons.
No, I'm good. If you have any episodes that happen in the city that I live, I think automatically the bad guy knows that I know that they're the bad guy and they're in my city and they're looking for me and I can't. But I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for watching Criminal Minds. I support you.
Well, I haven't. I've seen. I mean, I don't religiously watch.
I mean,
is
it even still a show? Is it still happening?
I don't know. I think it's coming back.
They're bringing everything back. Start bringing back Law and Order. Okay,
Yeah.
Anthony Anderson wants to rest after Blackish. Okay,
Does he?
let him. I don't know.
He's got to work.
I mean, he
He's gotta
just
get paid.
graduated from Howard with his son, which I thought was really cute. Anyway, the
but-
battle fatigue tangent.
Yeah. So I just this is just a reminder that it's there's nothing outside of exactly what you keep thinking that it can't be.
It literally is what it is.
It is that, and I've been having to process a lot of anger, just because the conversations that repeat themselves because they repeat themselves, and see what I did there, and so.
I was gonna you're just in my head. I was like, "Ooh, that was smooth."
No, you gotta call it. I gotta call it.
No. But you deserve. You deserve.
It's like, fam. It's how many times does it have to? How many times do these things happen until you realize, oh, so it must just be that. Especially like analyst people, or the data folks. Beyond like the feelings folks, because a lot of the feelings folks just like, well, I just feel like that we're more than this. I just feel like that it has to be something. Like I just feel like that kind of thing. And it's like, okay,
that we're better than this, people.
That we're better than this. Like this isn't the country that I remember, people.
It's the country I remember.
First off, you're 32.
Like, what did you think this country was, bro? It's been bad our entire lives.
Your ability to determine and analyze the thing, like you've had about 10, maybe 12 years to really, really determine.
We grew up during
this country is
three strike super predator bullshit, bro.
So
It's been bad from date.
Let's
been
not
bad from jump.
it's really, and even like more specifically, it's more about when you actually started to pay attention to what was going on in the world around you outside of your personal world around you.
Fair.
Like I think that it wasn't until maybe I was 28-ish, like late 20s, before I was like, oh, what? And so
it was Trayvon Martin for me. Yeah.
See? And so it just like it hits everybody at different places, and then what we end up doing with it, do we go back into the hole? Because it's quieter there, or do
ignorance
we
really
decide
is bliss?
that it truly is? It,
It
truly,
really is.
But there will come a point where we will just not have any choice. Won't have any choice, even if we if we decide to go active on what we've seen, what we've heard, how we feel, or if something just hits us so close to home that it's like, well, now I don't have any choice because I've been traumatized by it. The trauma has now, like, there's no more hole because now it's even loud inside the hole. I go to sleep at night, I close my eyes, and all I see and hear and think and feel is the things that I've seen and the things that I've heard. I can't. Now it's affecting my sleep. Now it's affecting like me just having dinner. Now it's affecting like when I look over at this place, at this park, at this building that I was at, I keep hearing these sounds like, and they come up, and we are not treating people like they have been traumatized. We are not treating people like the things that they have experienced is serious. Like the fear is real. We're not treating people and the dismissive actions of this country just because it's often determined, come on. I mean, there's been worse. And it's like, yeah, but there's a buildup, fam. Like when this happens, that's how trauma is. That's how PTSD
literally what it is.
Like that's why fireworks, that's why there's been this campaign over the last 5 or so years to like ban fireworks in more of especially the smaller cities because of pets, because of the military, because of like other folks on the spectrum, because of like so many things. And then you get these like giant explosive ass car alarm busting fireworks that
don't
go
even,
off
like,
and
have
it's like,
no lights or nothing. It's just like a boom. What is the point? What is the point?
And I like fireworks just as much as the next person, but like I'm good going to a park, watching a boat do the thing into the sky for like 30 minutes and then going home. Like I don't need to go to a reservation and buy $1,800 worth of fireworks, bring them back to my like suburb.
Just so I can blow off my pinky finger.
Like I don't understand it.
Doing.
I understand, like just be cool. And this is also where individualism continues to just be everything that it is.
Which, fun fact, is a tenet of white supremacy, individualism.
This collective individualism, which is an interesting phrase.
Which is ironic because there is definitely a collective individualism, which is vastly different than like Black folks, where we have a collective collection
of a community.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. It made me think of, so there's I believe he's a pastor, and I think he also calls himself a cross-cultural coach. His name is Jay English. And he's having this conversation. I think he's like doing a workshop is the clip that I happened to catch. And he made a really, really good point about like how cultural differences and the inability for one group to kind of learn about the cultural differences of another group create these situations in which one group is going to be consistently put in danger. And so he's talking about it within the context of policing. And he's talking about how like back in the day, there was, some kind of, I don't know if it's like a rule or a law or whatever, but there was this notion that you needed to be from the communities that you were policing because you understood those communities. It's like common sense. 1 + 1 equals 2. Great, whatever. But now we have these communities that are policed by people that are absolutely not from those communities. Okay, 1 + 1 also makes 2. We understand that. And so he's explaining it like this. Let's say you are in community 1, and community 1, let's say, is a white community, right?
Yeah.
And so your natural speaking voice is at a 3. And if you get real hype, you might get to like a 5 or a 6, right? You then go to community 2. Community 2 is a POC community. I'm going to say either Latinx or Black because those are the 2 specific ones that I have had interactions with that tend to get very loud when we get very excited, right? And he goes, our natural speaking volume, let's say, is at like a 5 or a 6, right? That's just how we get down every day. And then when we start getting hype, we're at like a 7 or 8. right? But we're not mad, right? It's the same with battle fatigue. Fun fact, battle fatigue behind the scenes. When we are getting ready to do an episode, our sound engineer, Jeff, has to like adjust the volumes, but he now understands us well enough that he adjusts the volumes being like, well, you guys are going to laugh or you guys are going to get loud at some point because that's just how we talk, right? So he's explaining if you have a police officer from community A and he stops a person from community B or 2, but I don't remember what numerals or numbers I was using, right? He stops somebody from the POC community. And that person, he goes, hey, I just want to talk to you. And the dude's like, hey, man, like, what's the problem? But homeboy's at a 5 or a 6. So now the police officer's like, hey, calm down. And the black dude's like, I am calm. Still talking at like a 5 or a 6, where that's just his regular talking voice. Now the other dude's like, yo, you getting mad aggressive. And the black dude's like, I'm not getting aggressive. Yo, like you tell me to calm down and I'm chill. But because there's an absolute disconnect in the way we just inherently communicate, and that is not included in the training, that's not included in implicit bias training, that is not included in just the way you interact every day, because your everyday interaction is with people who talk at a 3 or 5 level. So then when it's time for this police officer to go and interact with these community members, he's automatically assuming that everybody is coming at him with some sort of attitude, some sort of aggravation that then in turn means that he needs to come back with a higher level of force in order to supposedly control the situation. And I really appreciated the way that he had put that because, one, it puts it in a context that like everybody seems to be able to understand. Like you don't need to understand Black culture for you to understand like that just simple kind of example as to why policing needs to be shifted to more of like community-based involvement rather than police-based involvement. But I think that example could probably be used for like all these different ways in which other communities deal with communities of color and the inherent disconnect that happens. And it's like, y'all, we have been part of this country and been in this country since the very beginning. And yet you guys literally do not care enough to get to know us and our culture as humans and not just as products. Because you will listen to rap music, you will rock Jordans, you will wear even cross-colored t-shirts and shit from the 90s, but let Jalen Walker be murdered in plain view of you. The video is out. I personally have not watched the video because I refuse. I don't need that imagery in my head. And yet you will have not an inkling of, damn, like this shit keeps happening to the Black community. This shit is wild. We're just a product, right? Black women are a product for gay white men. Y'all swear you have an inner Black woman in you, which makes no sense because you guys don't even advocate for Black trans queer people who you steal your whole identity from. All of these phrases that people are using, yes, girl, slay, hunty, all of them shits come from ballroom culture, which was created by Black and brown trans people, queer people. And then you have all these folks on Drag Race and you have all these white drag queens, all these white gay males who'll be snapping their fingers, getting long acrylics and hoop earrings and all this. And yes, girl, oh my God. And there was this dude who was going around, his social media was going around, and there's a phrase that's like, that shit finna bust, right? Colloquial phrase. And this dude literally steals all of his personality from Black people. And he literally goes, this shit is finna be bust. It's like, that's not even how you use AAVE. But you took your whole personality from a Black woman, but you don't even advocate for Black women. And that's where the annoyance, like, it just comes right back around. Yeah. Blackness is a product that y'all get to pick, y'all get to use, y'all get to create, y'all get to make money off of, right? Brings me back to the whole do-rag situation that Chanel had, where we can go down the street and get a do-rag for $2 at the corner store, but Chanel want to put out a $7,000 do-rag. But we are villainized for using do-rag in the way that we actually invented do-rags to be fucking used for, bro. Like sometimes cats just want to lay their waves down. Sometimes you just want to go to the corner store real quick and you don't want to have to like brush and do your hair. Right. That shit is protective for us. It's cultural. It's embedded in what we do. And yet, all of a sudden now you want us to be the workhorse. All of a sudden now it's like, hey, Black people, we need y'all to get in the streets because they're taking our rights away. Yeah. Excuse me? The entire time, this entire country has done nothing but take the rights away of people who don't align with the imagery, the thought process, the society that they want to build. If you think about it, America was literally created by the people who were upset that the monarchy was telling them what to do. So you got a bunch of rich aristocrats who were like, we don't like the way you're treating us and you're being mean, and literally picked up and moved to a whole nother country. And then we're like, ew, brown people, killed a bunch of brown people. And we're like, oh my God, this is so much better. After you stole all of the indigenous knowledge that you needed to survive because y'all couldn't figure out how to grow jack shit to feed yourselves. Cool. You've now disrupted this indigenous way of living. You've killed off a bunch of people using diseases and a bunch of other tactics. You've moved them all to reservations. Now you got a bunch of black people who are working the land for you, whatever. You create a whole system in which you enslave a bunch of black people, whatever. Then all of a sudden, black people get rights. And you're like, oh shit. We got to do something about this Negro problem. We got to do something about... Y'all gonna have to get used to this Negro problem, okay? Because the Negroes ain't going nowhere. And y'all keep having babies with black people. And so we keep getting these very light-skinned, racially ambiguous people all over the place. And that's the thing that you're upset about. So you was like, nobody gets to get an abortion because we need more white babies because we're sick of it.
So look, I can tell you have some feelings.
Y'all leave black women alone.
Listen.
It's really what it comes down to.
Listen, I can tell you have some feelings. All right.
This is bullshit. Go ahead. You do. You talk. I'm done. I'm sick of it.
First off, it's important. And secondly, there was a little bit of a joke earlier. It was like, it's just Mondays is a black woman, and but in spite of the truth of that doesn't take away from the fact that, of course, it continues to happen. And since that does happen, we have to, at least maybe right now, a little bit more so than ever, have that self-care. Have those intentional, like way more intentional. Because it's like self-care is cool, but intentional self-care,
no, that's real.
Kind of more where it's at. And so, we have, again, you got the whole Roe v. Wade thing, and there's a lot of feelings and processing behind that, and just the general idea of white Independence Day and the mass murders, the killings, Jalen Walker, what they did to him versus what they did to the guy on July, Robert Crimo or whatever, and our identities, the blackness, survival is on high alert, right now, and now on top of that, we have fucking a COVID resurgence, coming back. BA5 is hitting. You know what I mean? So it's like, just when you thought it was safe to take off your mask outside, and we, so now we're reevaluating, like, shit, man. So, okay, there's a group thing where it's, kind of in a large outdoors. Like, I was thinking of, like, I was going to carry my mask, but well, now do I even want to go? You re-question the indoors thing. It's like, man, summertime and like movies. It was like, well, I guess I'm not going to the movies. And so it's like, so now there's things that we thought, oh, maybe I'll be able to enjoy this summer. Question, I might not be able to enjoy that. So, which also takes a toll, because it's like, well, shit, what can I do to process? What can I do to self-care that I've had to adjust? And then, can I get there? Because gas is $10 a gallon. So
and flights are mad expensive.
Flights are expensive. Like, and we're not even talking about
COVID.
We're not even talking about 2 weeks from now. Talking about like 6 or 8 weeks from now, a flight somewhere is just out of pocket. Completely out of pocket. I mean, I'm sure gas is high for planes too. Don't blame me. It's not my fucking fault.
They use gas too.
Shit ain't my fault. And analysts are like, yeah, we're headed to another recession. So it's just like right now, existing is hard, and existing when you're black is hard, and intentional self-care, intentional processing, finding, gaining, leaning on support is crucial, is mandatory. There's no option here. Like it's mandatory. It has to happen. If you do not have the ability to lean on some folks that you can trust, that see you, that get you, that can allow you volume behind what you're feeling, hit us up. DM at Battle Fatigue PC. We got you. That is what community is here for. Even some of the folks that, are in the community, like that's what we're here for. But straight up, if you're feeling it and you're looking around in your circle and you're just not seeing it, hit us up. Hit us up.
I might need to hit you up. Sitting here thinking about it, and I was like, yo, I am so sad.
Yeah.
I am so sad.
Yeah.
Dead ass, I will say, Sultan, you have been the most consistent black man in my life. And that is heavy. And it's not like I need you to like do more, obviously, because you do more than enough for me. But part of my irritation, I had a Black man that I cared about a lot feel very comfortable after the death of Lawrence Smith Fields, well, the murder of Lawrence Smith Fields in like February, and then I believe Chrisley Chest took her life. This man felt very comfortable saying to me, how was I supposed to know the death of these two Black women affected you? Black people die all the time. A Black man. And it's like, for the work that I do, the shit that I research, the like people I'm around, the people I advocate for, I realize that like people don't see me because I wear boy clothes or whatever. Like, first of all, just because I wear boy clothes does not mean I'm not a girl. I am as girly as they come, okay? My nails right now got acrylics on them. Like, be real. It is just what I wear on the outside because girl clothes are mad uncomfortable because they were created by men. Duh. So men's clothes are more comfortable because they were created with men in mind. Anyway, I realized in that moment that like people don't see me as the woman that I am advocating for. Like, if you felt comfortable, mind you, this man said this to me in February, and he didn't even say nothing about it until I asked him to in fucking June. So the simple fact that you guys are also feeling comfortable saying this shit to the Black women in your life as we're dealing with everything else, and then when it comes time to the fucking primaries, y'all need us to vote in a certain way, but y'all don't actually care for us. Especially if you are a dark-skinned queer woman, y'all actually do not care. But who's the one who's at the beginning of every fucking movement that you need to get big enough for you to tell people what to vote for? So I really just, I don't got it in, like, if you do not advocate for Black women in general, like, I don't got it in me for you. I don't. Because this is somebody who has been in my life. This is somebody who knows my mom. This is somebody who understands the kind of shit that I do, or at least I thought understood the shit that I do. And once we had a conversation, he said that it's because he numbed himself to what was happening to Black people. So cool. So you get to take it out on me? Like, why do Black women consistently have to be the punching bag for everybody? So understand, if you're talking to Black women right now, if you're not coming at us with extra care, like extra patience, extra grace, it's going to be on our shoulders to pick this shit up and move with it. Because white women, I'm no shade, but y'all don't got the stamina. Y'all don't got the stamina, because this is probably one of the hardest things that you're going to have to deal with in your current life that affects everybody and not just affects you. You have to now learn how to be part of a team. And that is difficult because you weren't socialized to be part of a team. And I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying that now if you're aware of it, like, you can make different choices, right? I'm not interested in guilting you. I'm not interested in making you feel bad. I'm not interested in like insulting you or nothing, because that actually does literally nothing for us, right? I'm not interested in getting to no weird social media battle with you, but understand that, like, if you don't decide to do something, if you don't get with it, you finna get lost. Is really what it comes down to. We do not have time to tone police, to pay attention to how this thing makes you feel because somebody said it in a tone that you aren't comfortable with. Homie, I speak naturally with a little bass in my voice and a little attitude. This is just how it is. And if you're focusing more on how I'm saying something rather than the thing that I'm saying, then my guy, you don't make the cut. That is really difficult to hear, but we're literally in a time where we are losing rights. We are moving back to the 1950s. We are literally moving back to the 1950s where you didn't even have rights, homie. So, like, if this is how y'all gonna get at Black women, understand that Black women will absolutely stop fighting for you. And that is going to be a scary ass fucking day. So all this to say, Sultan, I love you. I appreciate the way that you consistently show up for me as a Black woman, as a queer Black woman, as a masculine presenting queer Black woman. I appreciate that you've never asked me to change myself. You never tone police me. You check up on me and you see me as who I am, because that is the shit that's going to keep me alive. That is the shit that's going to keep me around to continue this fight, because right now I'm literally mentally preparing myself for all of the questions I'm going to get, the lectures I'm going to do, whatever. And I need more sultans in my life. Is really what it comes down to. Like, Black women, we are not going to survive if there are not more sultans behind us. And that is what, and like, that's why when you were saying what you were saying, like, I was like, I'm about to hit you up, because I literally can feel myself cracking. And it's like, I can't. And there's not enough, you know, in the Japanese, I believe, like, art style where, like, if the thing breaks, like, you fix it back up with gold. Like, I don't got no more gold. There's not going to be another moment for, like, me to put myself back together. So I just want you to get your flowers in this moment too. It's like, yes, the world is shitty And I'm trying not to focus on all of this shit, dead ass.
Yeah.
But like, part of the reason I've even able to survive this year, to survive Black men feeling that comfortable saying that shit to me, has been because of this Black man. And also, dead ass shout out to Felton. Like, Felton has been checking up on me since we did the interview. And it's like, this is me giving props and flowers to the Black men who've held me down. Because right now, we're not taking good care of each other. We're not. Because everybody's tired, and I get it.
So, of course, Felton Offord is a musician, an artist who was in Seattle for a time for the production of Fanny, the Life and Music of Fannie Lou Hamer, which was put on by the Seattle Repertory Theater. And we had an opportunity to interview, folks that were involved in that. And
he was a music director.
And he was the music director for that. And the music played a huge part of, that play. And if you got to see it, fantastic. If you didn't,
sucks for you.
Sucks
you missed
for
out.
you because you really did. Yeah, you really missed out. But yeah, Felton had a lot of connection to the show and to us as a whole, and has been a really great mainstay in how he has shown up in support for us. So yeah, please, it's a 2-part episode. Go back, listen to those episodes, from earlier in this season, and then go even further back and listen to the episode on Fannie Lou Hamer. AJ's #1 favoriteest most ever historical figure.
I would just like to thank Battle Fatigue for allowing me the opportunity to talk about my top 3.
Hey,
like,
there it is.
We've done the top 3, and I'm good. We don't even got to talk about nobody else. Like, we solid. Well, we're going to do C.T. Vivian one day because C.T. Vivian got this white man to punch him in the face on camera, and that was amazing. But anyway. Yeah, so take care of yourself, y'all.
Absolutely. I am here for you always. When I will show up every time I can show up, and because I believe in that. I believe in showing up for people. I believe in showing up for people, not how I feel I need to, but how they need me to. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's important. Kind of a love language thing, right? Like, cause if it's like, like you're sitting there like, hands on shoulders and stuff, and like, do not touch me.
Touch me, please.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Well, I just don't know what else to do. And it's like,
here,
I have tried to tell you.
Take this test, okay? Take this test, and then let's learn about each other.
That's real though, like, because that's even good for friendships.
It is.
You know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure we've done both our anger language,
we've had
our
them,
love language, and our apology language.
And apology, yep.
Our
apology languages are like exact.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Take responsibility. 50%. 60%.
Don't ask me for forgiveness.
Forgiveness, 0.
Don't ask me.
Fuck you and your forgiveness.
But yeah. Show up for your people, but most importantly, show up how they need you to show up, not just what's in your, like, we have to know how to show up for folks and then bring that specifically. I mean, I'm not saying like don't bring a couple other ideas that we might not have thought of, but everybody responds naturally best to something. Let's learn what that is and what folks need, and then give them that. It's a tough time. It is tough as fuck right now. And,
it sure is.
And we really, more than ever, need community. So again, we're on Twitter, on IG. If you're finding it tough, at Battle Fatigue PC, hit me up, hit AJ up. But we're both at those social medias, and we can both respond. We're here for you. Like, that's community. Like, that's what this podcast exists for, in part, to talk the history, to talk the nerd shit, and to be community for the community. We wanted today to check in. We wanted to talk about what's going on and how we feel about it. And I'm glad that I had this chat, because now I have much more context, for AJ, not only for myself, but also for her. It's good to, get those perspectives and get those different avenues of understanding. So, thank you. And I will, I'll call you.
I appreciate you. And Battle Fatigue folk, look, one day at a time. Okay? One day at a time.
That's all I can do.
If you can get out in the sun, do that. because sometimes just sitting in the sun for a couple of minutes changes. Not a lot, but some.
That shit is also draining.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like, you come out,
That's
I was
why I said
outside for
that's
like
why I
30
said a
minutes and it's
little
like,
bit.
God, I need a
little bit. I
nap.
ain't saying-
God, I'm
Look,
so
when I
tired.
discovered what melanin does to the sun in the scientific piece, I was like, oh, it's because my cells are working. That's why I'm tired. I'm
Right.
tired.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go try and shed my winter color and go sit in
Hey.
the sun and soak up. But yeah, BF crew, we got your back. Sultan, you look divine. BT Day.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, you look divine. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
We look divine.
I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
Yeah.
You know what? I
all love.
feel for the lady who gonna snatch you up because me
all
and her
love.
gonna have to
Okay.
come to an agreement.
right.
Okay.
All right.
I just
All right.
need you to understand that I talk to him like this. All right. We both gonna come in. Look at you. Looking good. Ain't you looking good? Is today your day to
We're just
compliment him or
gonna
my day?
raise the theme music up on this.
Yeah, nah, it's
and,
cool. We could just. I'll just talk this
Yep,
out. 'Cause
theme
I'm
music gets
telling you,
higher
he got a
and
haircut.
higher. And
he's
until
wearing,
until next time.
And the eyebrow is eyebrowing today.
Until
okay?
next time.
Okay, and his freckles,
Yeah.
freckly.
Until so much next time.
Is that extra melanin in that
Yeah.
right freckle right under your nose?
Have we cut? Have we cut? Thank you for listening to Battle Fatigue. Our show is produced by the folks over at Large Media. That's LARJ Media. Special thanks to the team at Good Juju for brand design and Roger Habone for theme song production. You can find other episodes of Battle Fatigue wherever you get your podcasts. Also, for updates and more, be sure to follow us on social media at Battle Fatigue PC. Thanks again for listening.